exactly what we're talking about today. And you're also a member of ISU Republicans.
Yes.
My first question to ask you both is your opinions on how RFK Jr.'s campaign will affect the other two campaigns. I am here now with Alex Duffy, an ISU student who's been elected to the McLean County Board. Alex, thank you for being here.
Of course, thank you for having me.
So the county board members I've spoken to have said the board isn't overly partisan. Do you agree with them? Are they excited to vote for Trump? It's going to be your first presidential election. Are you excited to pull the lever for him? You're both very, politically literate people, but people that you communicate with, your friends, your family, are they talking about RFK Jr.? Does he seem like he's, gaining force in those, less political-centric conversations? This time of year, we see a lot of political ads, but I've noticed that between you and your opponent in this race, I've seen none. Is that true? Are there no negative ads, and is that intentional?
She's done negative ads against me, but I have not done it against her.
On Monday, the first action of the board was to expand public time for speaking, and also making it a little easier for members to attend virtually. Why do you think that's important? In Peoria, in downtown Bloomington, empty lots, empty buildings.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
How do we get them back?
How do we get them back? We've got to be business friendly.
Meeting in March, the town council voted to begin the process of potentially banning smoke shops from opening in Uptown, a shopping district walkable for all ISU students. We sat down and talked to the Normal Town planner to learn more about this initiative.
It's a small space. It's really not a very big central business district.
To learn even more about the candidates' economic plans, we talked to an expert. We sat down with ISU Own's Dr. David Clayton, an economics professor who co-authored an economic textbook and has taught economics all over the world, in Turkey, the Middle East, and in universities across the Midwest. I met him at Stevenson Hall to hear him make sense of all these numbers.
Tariffs are taxes.
One other big issue of your campaign, and it's kind of speaking of your opponent as well, is your 4 term limits. Absolutely. I want to ask you, why do you think that's such an important issue, and what term limit would you propose? And the first is the economy, which is always the biggest issue of any election. Do you think that Harris's proposals to the middle class will have broken through to voters, or will Trump rule on the economies as Republicans often do? TV10 is on the ground here in Madison, Wisconsin, where the vice president's rally is about to begin. This will be the 4th time Kamala Harris has been in Wisconsin, the first time in Madison and the essential Dane County in this essential swing state. The Harris campaign has been riding high following a surge of excitement from Biden's initial withdrawal from the ticket, a sentiment some students held at Friday's rally.
I was more than certain, just going to vote for Joe Biden, but I wasn't excited about it. I was like, I guess I'll do it. But now I'm like, hell yeah, coconuts for Kamala, baby.
Momentum from the Harris Walls campaign is held strong, but polling shows that this is as tight as ever, showing the election may be one of the closest in recent history. The latest New York Times Siena poll now shows Harris up only 1 point over Trump in Wisconsin. In November of 2020, Biden was up 7 points in polling and won the state by less than a point. The Harris strategy? To win Dane County by a landslide.
Now, the GOP says it wants to get 30% of the vote in Dane County, and they can win Wisconsin.
Wisconsin's 10 electoral votes will most likely be decided in Dane County, with a respectable turnout of Republican voters in the liberal-leaning city, or by a deafening turnout by Democrats. One advantage the Democrats have over the Republicans? The music. Friday evening found the Madison community jumping and dancing not for the Badgers, but for Kamala Harris. Each attendee received a light-up wristband, and music blared between every speaker from artists like Chappell Roan, Taylor Swift, and Beyonce. A stark contrast between the Trump campaign and the growing list of artists asking the GOP to cease using their songs. At Harris events, the atmosphere is more like a concert than a political event. People even don Kamala is Brat shirts, a reference to a trend that went viral over the summer.
Brat, it just kind of it symbolizes being unapologetically yourself, and it leaves room for any type of person to be themselves.
Polling also shows a swing in young male voters who typically vote Democrat are swinging Republican this election. But several young men on Friday said don't count them out just yet.
Well, not every single man is going to go for Donald Trump. You have 2 men here, and we're going for Kamala Harris, and we're strongly going for Kamala Harris. We're not even on the fence.
4 speakers, the vice presidential seal was placed on the podium, and the crowd stood on their feet in anticipation. As she walked out to Beyonce's song Freedom, she was more rock star than politician. Taking in cheers from the packed arena, their bracelets shining and signs waving. The vice president's speech is similar to what Americans heard during the debate, with a few updates. One notable off-script remark came as the crowd began chanting "Lock him up," a reference to Trump's lawsuits and felon conviction.
You know what? The courts will take care of that. Let's take care of him in November.
Another updated section is a somber one, invoking the recent death of Amber Nicole Thurman, a 28-year-old Georgia woman who died due to delays in medical care.
And you know, when that decision came down just over 2 years ago, we predicted this would happen. And it's preventable.
And just like that, the vice president's rally here in Madison, Wisconsin comes to a close just minutes ago. Every single seat in this arena filled, nearly 11,000 people. And of course, Kamala Harris is back on the campaign trail tomorrow with just 43 days left in this election. For TV 10 News, I'm Kyle Langellier.
In the county of McLean.
In the county of McLean.
In the state of Illinois.
In the state of Illinois.
Do solemnly swear.
As soon as the new McLean County Board got sworn in, they got right to work. First, electing the longest-serving Democrat, Elizabeth Johnston, as board chair. The question on many minds, what's going to change now that a new party's in control for the first time?
I think that some people get in because they think that it's going to be exciting and there's going to be partisan politics and it's going to be Washington, D.C., and they get in and it's kind of dull.
Member Metzger thinks the board will remain mostly unpolitical. The newly elected vice chair, Jim Rogal, seems to agree.
95%, and it might even be higher than that, of what we do is nonpartisan, right? It's approving grants that we're applying for to help our sheriff's department or our health department or, the clerk's office.
In a diverse county like McLean, political issues often aren't Democrat versus Republican, but rural versus urban. There are 3 districts, so 6 members, who represent rural McLean, while 7 districts encompasses Bloomington-Normal. So rural citizens are worried about things like wind farms popping up around their homes. Member Rogal says for those decisions, everyone has a seat at the table.
A point of pride here is we're probably one of the more green-friendly counties in Illinois, but I kind of defer to the landowner, right? We're not quick taking this land. It's not land that we're taking from them. Most of these developers aren't buying the land from them, they're renting the land from them.
I also asked Rogal, what are the biggest issues the Democrats are going to tackle over the next year?
How can we help the communities with housing issues? Housing issues, whether it's rent going through the roof or whether it's just the availability of it.
Regardless of who's in control, Member Metzger said that as chair, she practiced nonpartisanship, a trait Republicans hope the Democrats take on.
I may have an R by my name, but I vote on what's best for the county, not what's best for any political party. And most things that we do are not political anyway,